The Angry Chicken is a production of amove.tv. Check out Amove TV for more podcasts covering Blizzard games. And for more of Jocelyn's gaming podcasts, visit jossplays.com. The Angry Chicken is brought to you by our legendary patrons over at patreon.com/TAC.
Time's up. Let's do this.
Legendary!
You face Jaraxxus. You smell like a leopard gnome. I knew it. So hot.
A podcast about Hearthstone and Battlegrounds. This is The Angry Chicken!
It was the attack before BlizzCon, and all through the show, Joce said obvi and Garrett yelled no! Welcome, everybody. This is The Angry Chicken. Don't usually do episode numbers, but it's episode 404. Insert your jokes here about internet or podcast or whatever not being found. I'm Garrett, here as always with Joce, and this is the final episode of The Angry Chicken before BlizzCon finally happens in February, in case you forgot or needed reminding about just how strange the last year has been.
I'm really excited that we get BlizzCon in just a couple days. Like, oh God, it's going to be so good. I mean, this is literally perfect timing for Hearthstone in terms of like big announcements. I mean, November's fine. We always get our expansion in December, but I mean, they're getting their whole rotation. Like everything happens for Hearthstone. Like this kind of time of year is the biggest time of the Hearthstone year. So I feel like this is perfect for them. And I know everybody else is maybe like not loving the February timing, but I think for Hearthstone, it's perfect. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I want Year of the Unicorn.
I mean, you better hope for a Consolation Corsair. So
yeah, I know I'm not getting it. But I don't know what the next year is going to be, but I'm pretty sure it's not the unicorn.
You know, I believe on behalf of you.
Yeah. Well, and you know, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but there definitely was an expansion teaser. So I'm wondering if it's going to be like Year of the Quillbore or something.
Yeah. Let's. Could be. Could be Year of the Don't Pet That. It hurts. Year of the ooh, that hurts. That stings. Year of the Go Get the Tweezers.
Or like maybe it's going to be like year, I don't know, because we've always had an animal, right? So I'm assuming we're going to get another animal, but maybe it also, you know what? This is all spoiler talk. So later.
All right, we got something to talk about. So before we get into it, let's thank our patrons supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. Do you like what we're doing here at The Angry Chicken? Well, it's entirely on us. It's independent. We are not paid by anyone in particular besides our wonderful patrons who support us themselves. So if you like what we're doing, you want to help us keep making the show, keep putting the time in the show that it takes to make Attack. It does take some time. Check it out, patreon.com/TAC. Get yourself some perks, ad-free version of the show, access to our Discord, and the wonderful community there within. So we got quite a few new patrons this week, Joce, and some other folks to thank, and I'll explain why in a second. But Ryan Berzumato, Yvonne Antoine, and Trevor Green. Those are our most recent patrons. Thank you so much, all of you, for supporting us here at The Angry Chicken. But also a shout out to current and ongoing patrons, Troll Dan and Matthew M, for upping their pledge. Got a little notification on the old Patreon notification icon. It's like, what's going on there? Did people leave? Because it'll also let you know when people leave. And I'm like, oh no, look at that. Troll Dan and Matthew M. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for upping your pledge. You've been here a while. We appreciate it. But we also appreciate Hearthstone news, and there's actually a bit of it ahead of BlizzCon, so let's get right into it.
Good news, everyone!
First up, before we get to teasers of teasing, let's talk about what's in the game right now, which is celebrating the Lunar New Year. Jocelyn, we've got new legendary quests forcing me to go back to duels for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
I'm throwing shade at free stuff that they didn't need to give me. That's right. No, it's fine. I'm getting more card packs. That's great. So ain't nothing wrong with that. But yeah, this is going to be running until February 23rd. So get in there and get your legendary quests done. You're going to be able to get a total of 9 card packs from Madness at the Darkmoon Fair and Scholomance Academy. I would assume if you're listening to the show, you're probably already working on this if you're not finished with it. But just in case, a little reminder there.
Yeah, this is like leftover news from last week. But the reason that I wanted to put this in is we actually have a giveaway to do. So we are giving away 2 bundle codes for the 3 Kingdoms bundles. So this is the 4 skins that are available. Uther, Anduin, Valera, and Garrosh are all included. So thanks very much to Blizzard for giving us those codes. The link is in the show notes. I'll also throw it in the chat room here in a second. But yeah, if you guys are interested in those skins, then we do have a couple bundles to give away. So that's why we're talking about it, even though we had to skip it last week because there was so much to talk about.
Yeah, so shout out to Blizzard for sending those bundle codes over. You're doing Gleam again, which means like people can enter by doing things they're already doing, like following us on Twitter. Just make sure you go over to that link and make sure that you're signed up. Jocelyn, out of all of these new skins, which one is your favorite and why is it Valera?
I was going to say it's 100% Valera, like 100,000%. I mean, I was talking about when I can't even remember, maybe it was episode 400, maybe it was another listener email. I don't remember. We were talking about what characters we use for each hero. And I used like default Valera. So when this skin came out, I was like, oh my God, I have a new rogue skin. This is amazing.
Yeah. That Uther skin looks remarkably like a Arthas skin from Heroes of the Storm, which I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but that's kind of cool. And probably the closest thing we're going to get to an event in Heroes of the Storm ever again, but you know.
Rip Heroes.
Yeah, but go sign up, go check it out. And yeah, let's get into the expansion teaser we've already teased while teasing things we were going to talk about later in the episode.
The tease of the tease.
The tease of the teasing teasers. They posted a Year of the Phoenix review on their blog, but they also put out a teaser trailer, essentially, is what it is. I'm certain that Jocelyn. So what happened, as I can best describe for our audio only listeners, is that an adventurer found themselves in a cave surrounded by Quillbore. And I also saw some thorns. Joce, and you and I both play World of Warcraft. We've both been playing it for a long time. My only question is it Razorfen Downs or Razorfen Crawl? Because all signs seem to be pointing to thorny, creepy pig monster dungeons from World of Warcraft.
Yeah, and so both of those are from Classic, and they're in Barrens and Thousand Needles, so very much in the same sort of area-ish of World of Warcraft. And I think, I don't know, this could be really, really cool because the absolute most important part of the entire teaser, which in and of itself was a total of 15 seconds long, was, of course, the gigantic Horde banner. So, I mean, that's really the most important part, is that whatever we're doing, it's super Horde-y, and I love it.
Horde. Oh, cool. Make sure you pronounce the...
Horde.
I want you to overpronounce the D every time you say that, please.
So not super hoary? No, they took the boobies out, Garrett.
Okay,
that was a while ago.
I was thinking an N instead of a D, but you went a completely different route. But you know, as you are to do, just when I think I can predict the Jocelyn, you go, you take a you take a northeast when I thought you were going a normal west. It's interesting, right? Because I mean that is so in WoW. Those 2 dungeons and the Quillbore that are kind of, encroaching and invading into the Barrens. That is, I mean, anyone could go do it, but it's a very early dungeon for Horde players, especially if you start an Orc or a Troll, because that's kind of where you start your journey. But the Quillbore are not part of the Horde. But there's just something about the way that this is framed that makes me think it's going to be some like, all right, the Quillbore have joined up with the Horde. There's just something about it. Because like the adventurer that's shown is like a kind of a generic human, right? If I'm remembering correctly, I don't have it up in front of me right now.
Yeah, it was just kind of insert generic adventurer here. And I'm not sure if that was meant to be like a player surrogate, I guess, or if that was meant to be like a character in WoW or like, but it is
Oh yeah, we
very...
don't even get a close up on him. It's just kind of silhouetted.
No, it's just kind of, and it's from the back too, right? So it's kind of hard to tell, but it does seem to be the kind of hardest they've leaned into a World of Warcraft tie-in, probably since Rostacon's Rumble. And I mean, definitely since they dropped the Heroes of Warcraft moniker, right? So
yeah,
but this seems like, I know normally we don't talk too much about World of Warcraft on this show, but it comes up every once in a while. But this seems like they are leaning hardcore into World of Warcraft themes.
It's a ton of Quillboars surrounded by thorns. You hear the drums of war. You see the Horde banner.
You've got the like orcs chanting in the background, and yeah.
So yeah, but it's just, I don't know. There's something about the way that Horde banner shows up where I'm like, I think they're gonna do something goofy, like the Quillboar are enlisting in the Horde.
I mean, it is still Hearthstone.
It's going to be, it will always be some sort of Hearthstone twist on things. But this one is just, at least in the teaser, so straightforward. Wow. That I'm not quite sure what the twist is. And I'm sure the next frame of this actual full length trailer breaks in the song and gets real wacky.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious too, because like I said, they did lean super far into the Horde thing. Like there is a Horde banner that shows up. It is like almost half the length of the teaser part of the trailer, because the whole trailer is like 30 seconds long. 15 seconds of that is just like the Hearthstone like end splash screen, like join us at BlizzCon or whatever. And then so only the first 15 seconds of the video are actual like teaser, and probably a good 7 seconds of that is just like the Horde banner slowly like pulling out to reveal what it is. Like
I like
this video is Horde banner.
Yeah,
so
Squinty Eyes in chat room just commented saying Razorfen pub crawl. I mean, if anything, it would be a tavern crawl, but yeah, why not?
I like it.
I'm into it. Let's do it.
But my question is, because like we said, it does seem to be leaning into WoW, and there's obviously two factions in World of Warcraft. Do we think that this is maybe a return to a year-long story arc where we get kind of like a Horde-focused expansion, and then we get an Alliance-focused expansion and go to like, I don't know, Westfall or something, and deal with like Knowles, and Hogger makes his return. And then in the final expansion of the year, we like bring those two themes together and have some sort of Horde versus Alliance, like they did with like Mean Streets of Gadgetzan or... Yeah, no, oh my God, no. We're just pretending that BFA didn't happen, and now Hearthstone is going to do Horde versus Alliance like it was supposed to happen.
Well, welcome to the world of Star Wars fans where we're pretending Rise of Skywalker didn't happen. It's hard to read too much into this, right? Like unless you're Jocelyn, you didn't call kobolds and catacombs because they showed us a pirate. And everyone was like, we're going to hyper-focus on this pirate minion because that's all they showed us. So I do feel like maybe I'm hyper-focusing on the Razorfen dungeons and Quillboar a little too much because that's all they have really shown. This could be a Barons-wide expansion. This could be a Horde-themed expansion as you kind of teed up.
Yeah, I saw a few people saying like they thought that maybe today we were going to get some sort of like Alliance teaser to go with the Horde teaser. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like maybe this is the big theme is going to be Horde. But you really, at least I don't think that you can do a full entire Horde expansion and just forget that the Alliance exists, right? So I think we're probably going to do Horde now, but I think Alliance is probably coming. And I don't know what that looks like, but I'm kind of excited.
Thematically speaking, thinking about like card art and stuff, it would be pretty hilarious to just make it all Horde biased, but there's like clearly Alliance infiltrators. So it's like, you know, suspicious orc grunt, and it's just like a human with one of those bad Halloween masks you get in World of Warcraft, like trying to look like an orc.
Like in my head, I almost want a new like tribe, and I just want it to say Horde at the bottom.
Oh.
But then I don't want it to mean anything. And then in the next expansion, no, wait. In the next expansion, we get cards that have like a lot of blue on them and have the Tribe of Alliance, and it doesn't mean anything. And then in the last expansion, then we get like odd versus even, Horde versus Alliance, like make a Horde only deck and get a whole bunch of cards to support that. And you know, like that's where my head is at, is like maybe we get some sort of super cool like bring it all together third expansion at the end of the year.
Maybe. I mean, I think
it probably wouldn't actually be as far as a tribe. It would probably be more of a keyword thing, but still, I think that would be super cool if we went down the like kind of like dual class cards, kind of like Mean Streets of Gadgetzan type stuff, where there's a set of cards that do a certain thing depending on, you know, how you put them together, or like Witchwood with the odd even thing. Like I think there's precedent for doing stuff like that, and I think they can really play with the Horde and Alliance themes in WoW.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of that. I'll level with you. So right now, you look a little bit like a crazy person drawing yarn between all sorts of completely unrelated,
you know what?
Unsubstantiated evidence. But I've doubted the Joce before, and that was Kobolds and Catacombs.
I was like, I've literally, in all of the history of all of the Hearthstone expansions that have ever come out, I have made a correct guess one time. Like I'm never gonna live it down.
I also was like, no, Life Drinker sucks, and then Life Drinker was one of the most played neutrals, and just busted. But I'll always have Rinling's rifle. I went to bat for it. That's all right. We all have our moment or multiples if you're Jocelyn.
So that's kind of my like overall year of the whatever prediction, is that maybe we're going to be going down a Horde Alliance path and returning to telling a story over the course of a year. Yeah,
that I think is a stretch, but I wouldn't mind seeing it. I liked it when they did it, you know, all the way up through Descent of Dragons. That was Year of the Dragon. I completely forgot. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because then everyone was like, where the hell are the dragons at the Year of the Dragon? And it took them all the way to the third expansion to really lean into it.
I was just like, Year of the Doom? I couldn't like recall the name.
Year of the Doom.
I couldn't recall the name. I'm so sorry. I was getting all my D's mixed up.
You never want to mix up your D's. That's just trouble.
No, Hat, I'm not okay. Ridiculous Hat isn't terrorism. I'm okay. No, I'm not, because Jocelyn keeps doing stuff like that. Just giving me the giggle fits. Yeah, so we're going to know in 2 days, Joss. We're going to know what the heck is going on with this, with these spiky pork boys. But in the meantime, we also, we got that year of the Phoenix review on their on the blog. And we got some interesting like metrics, like how many active players there were last year. And apparently there was over 23 million, which is
a lot of active players.
It's okay, I guess.
Yeah, it's I mean, so there's been a lot of spirited debate about what an active player means. And obviously Blizzard is going to be like erring on the side of, if you logged in and looked at your collection, you're active, congratulations. So, this may not necessarily be people logging in every day, but still 23.5 million active players is a lot of players for a 7-year-old game at this point. So yeah. That's a lot of people still logging in to pay attention to Hearthstone. I think a lot of that probably also comes from the mobile market, right?
Yeah. It is an accessible game, to say the least.
Yeah.
And I think it's only, all criticisms over the past year aside, like it's getting more accessible. So and again, with Classic coming up, if you've been around a while and you don't want to keep up with new sets, I think you have even more accessibility options in terms of, being able to play the game the way you want to play it. So yeah, I think, overall it's been good. It's weird to think about when you think about how vocal certain, subsections of the community have been in recent months, but yeah, you can play this on darn near, I'm surprised I can't play this on my toaster at this point. Which maybe
You're
if I
just
had
not
an Android
trying hard
enabled,
enough.
maybe if I had an Android enabled toaster, I could do that. But
Smart toaster. Do they even make smart toasters?
I
feel
am
like they
certain
must.
they do. I am certain they do. Just one more thing to start blinking when I have my third power surge of the day after a lightning storm in Florida. Can't
I really
wait.
want like a super over-engineered toaster that like instead of just having glass on the side so you can watch your toast, it has like a live feed screen on the front with like cameras inside and just like going way too
Are
far.
you gonna
into
go
the
live on
smart-
Just Chatting? Hey everybody, got my sick new toaster. Let's see if we can use the dark setting today.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the or I guess that's YouTube. not
Someone
Twitch.
would watch that, Garrett. Someone
I
would
mean,
watch
someone
that.
would. Yeah, I would too. If I saw Jocelyn going live with toast, I'd be
Streaming
like,
my toast.
be right there. You probably get a lot of viewers at first. People would be like, "Oh my god, Disguised Toast is off Facebook," and then they'd realize it's just toast.
It's just literal
Literally
toast. Yeah.
There's nothing
But it would
disguised
be like
about
the
it.
fire. It would be like the fireplace channel at Christmas, except for just every day. It's just me sitting there talking about toast, and you just get to watch the toast get made.
Boy, we really took the toast joke and ran with it. We should,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, that's a lot of active players. They said 669 million hours spent playing BGs, and also reminded us that we got 31 new heroes and 70 new minions, which is a lot. And then there were some interesting omissions in mode popularity because they didn't give stats on matches played for Standard, Wild, or Battlegrounds. But then they said for Arena, there was 291 million matches. Tavern Brawl was 271 million matches. And Duels had 61 million matches. Of course, it's worth pointing out it hasn't been around that long.
Yeah. So Duels has only been around since like November, December, January. So we're looking at like, they didn't tell us exact dates on stats. They just said like, here's our year in review for Year of the Phoenix, which we're not quite at the end of either. So the Arena and Tavern Brawl stats aren't necessarily 12 full months of matches. But what's really interesting to me, at least, is how close these numbers are. And again, because they didn't give us Battlegrounds, Wild, or Standard, then I think it kind of makes it difficult to figure out how many or how popular those modes are in the grander scheme of Hearthstone. But just the fact that Tavern Brawl and Arena had essentially almost the same amount of matches played, I thought that was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Tavern Brawl is a thing I think most people probably log in. They do one a week to get their reward and then they're out, versus Arena where you're going to do at least 3 matches in a run, right? So
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to ask. Like, it's an interesting metric because you're incentivized to play more than one Arena game, a bare minimum of 3, even if it's a terrible run, versus your average Tavern Brawl. If you win once, you're done.
Yeah.
So like that's important to keep in mind. So to me, like the fact that Tavern Brawl is so close to Arena, I think speaks to Tavern Brawl being the more popular mode.
I think in terms of unique users, I think you're probably right. I think people who play Arena play more matches and they're kind of more passionate about their mode. But I think that Tavern Brawl probably has more of those active users that we talked about a few minutes ago logging in to kind of play Tavern Brawl, right? So I think you have more unique users in Tavern Brawl, but I think the people who play Arena play a lot of it.
Yeah. It's interesting for sure. I find it very, to me, it's like telling that they're not giving Standard, Wild, or Battleground stats.
I don't think they want us to know like how. I don't necessarily want to say unpopular.
I do.
Like, I feel like they don't want to give us a bigger picture because they don't want us to know how small those communities are compared to their kind of like flagship modes. And I'm kind of surprised that Wild didn't have its stats released. And that makes me wonder, like, is Wild even lower than Tavern Brawl and Arena, or is it higher? I'm really not sure.
Yeah, Wild's the one that
Standard and Battlegrounds get all the support, right? So I
Really?
would argue those are the two main modes of Hearthstone now.
Yeah, I just get so suspicious. This is where I start pulling the yarn out and
Very
tacking things on the
tinful of
wall.
hatty.
Because I'm like, Wild, I would think would be in the ballpark of Arena, Tavern Brawl, Duels. I would think you would be in that ballpark. You would have similar matches. So like by its omission, my brain goes, Wild must be worse than I think.
Yeah, where at first I was like, oh, they don't want us to know the big three because they don't want us to, like feel bad for Arena and Tavern Brawl people. But then I was like, but wait.
Yeah.
There's like, when you're number one legend in Wild and you're queuing against somebody who's like, I don't know, gold, like maybe that's a problem. Maybe the population over there isn't as big as I would hope. I don't know, but yeah. At first I thought they were big, but the more I think about it, the more I think they're probably kind of small, which sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, if they gave us standard or Battlegrounds matches, like I have to imagine it would be astronomical compared to these numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ridiculous Hat, hi Hat, is in the chat room and says, no matter what the Wild stats are, Wild Twitter players would be mad. And I think, Wild players on Twitter would be mad. And I think that, that's probably true because either the stats are really, really low and Blizzard's publishing them and basically adding fuel to the fire to say like your mode doesn't deserve any support. Or conversely, they have a ton of players and they're up on the level of standard and battlegrounds, but they're not getting the support that standard and battlegrounds get. So really, like releasing Wild stats, given the lack of attention Blizzard has kind of paid them, like either way, that would probably be a bad call and people would be upset. So I think probably keeping that close to the chest is probably a good idea. But at the same time, yeah, I kind of want to know. Like that was the first, when I looked at this graphic release from Blizzard, I was like, but where are the other modes? Like these stats are cool, but I don't have the full context. So
yeah, like the hours spent in Battlegrounds. Like, what do I do with this information? Like, I mean, I guess I could extrapolate it like, all right, Battlegrounds game, probably 25 to 30 minutes on average. Divide that by it, and you've got a vague idea, which had I been thinking ahead is something I would have done. So I'm definitely not counting my zeros right now in a calculator while I divide.
Well, it's like 1.3 billion. No, wait.
Do you want me to go
330 million.
Joce, what do you think the average
No.
What do you think the average
2 matches per hour makes it bigger?
I'm gonna go with 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So that brings down to like 26 million and change games, which seems low, honestly. But again, you also have to factor in the fact that Battlegrounds games take a lot longer than a single match of Wild, Duels, Arena, Standard, Wild.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Interesting.
To go through a whole entire lobby, unless you're like me and terrible sometimes.
I had the worst Cthulhu game I've ever experienced today. I didn't know I couldn't get top 4 with Cthulhu, but I found a way. Joce.
I got first with Cthulhu the other day.
Nice.
It was great.
I got robbed of a first place thanks to an Alex Strauza the other day and thought of you.
I don't know if you saw, but the other day I also posted a first with Alex when I got Caligos off my Discover, and I was just like, man, Garrett, I don't know what your problem is.
Just the next
good.
when I'm vaccinated, I'm gonna go to Vegas and I'm going to explain to you in excruciating detail every single time I won at slots and every single time I won at roulette. And I just want you to remember this when you're bored, because there's nothing of interest in any of those stories. That you brought this upon yourself.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
just get better with her.
We're starting an Angry Chicken podcast. We're a spinoff called Luckcast. We're gonna start telling really exciting coin flip stories, and it's gonna be great. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be wonderful.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be a real good time. So moving along, we knew this last week, but there was just so much to unpack with how the game that we at home play is going to be changing with the core set, that we didn't really have time to talk about Grandmasters, but we now have the information for Grandmasters 2021 brought to you by ESL now. Yeah.
Whatever that means. They're still on YouTube, so
Are they still on YouTube? Was that in here? I didn't see that bit.
Yeah, no, they're still on YouTube. But that was one thing that was kind of in the bottom corner of the year in review graphic, and it said something like 3 million views of events or something, and I was like, You should have left that out.
Those are rookie
That's not
numbers.
a lot of views.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah,
That's,
like, and I mean,
I'm trying to.
I don't know off the top of my head what Twitch numbers were, but I mean, yeah, more than that.
Okay, all right. It's not more downloads than we get in a year, but it's not as far above it as it should be. I was just like, wait, does Angry Chicken get more downloads than Grandmaster gets views? That's concerning.
Oh,
if that's
that would
the case.
be, yeah, that
But
would be bad.
it's closer than it should be. It's closer than it should be, Joce. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, that takes all the wind out of my sails. This is gonna seem harsh, but this is where my brain goes. If they couldn't get it off YouTube, why did ESL even want it? Because that doesn't seem worth it to me. Like, if I'm being brutally honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everyone agrees that the move to YouTube was terrible for Hearthstone, but I mean, like when there was an article that came out a couple months after the move to YouTube that basically just like detailed the agreement between the two of them, and they were like they did it mostly for COD and Overwatch, and Hearthstone was just kind of like thrown in and wasn't counted as really worth anything to them, and that really sucked because it didn't mean anything to YouTube, but it had such a negative impact on Hearthstone in terms of their esports that, like, if it didn't mean anything, why throw it in? Leave it where it was. It was doing much better over on Twitch. So, I mean, we're in this crappy situation now because it was part of the agreement, and hopefully that agreement will end soon and we can get Hearthstone back on Twitch. And hopefully when it goes back on Twitch, people still care, because at this point it sucks.
All I can think of is like there's just some sort of inner political machinations that we are not privy to. And yeah, I remember that article too. I wish I could remember where it was, because I cite it all the time and I can't remember where it was. And it wasn't a Jason Schreier article because I can't find it anymore, or like it's not easy to find. If it was a Schreier article, it would be, because we've covered quite a few of his stories with Blizzard leaks in the past. But it does make a lot of sense to me that that's how it went down.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are still on YouTube, but that's neither here nor there. We do know the details of how Grandmasters is going to work. So there are some changes from 2020, and I think it's kind of interesting because they're experimenting a little bit more with gameplay format changes. They're doing more stuff with like splitting players into different groups without actually making like an A pool and a B pool sort of thing. So there's a lot more like mixing of players. So every Thursday, there's going to be an off-broadcast like tournament of group play with the 16 players from each region split into 4 groups with 2 people advancing from each group. So the first person to advance by winning both their Thursday matches doesn't play again until Saturday, but on Friday we get broadcasted decider matches. So then that will determine the top 8 that then we'll see play out on Saturday and Sunday. And so what I'm really interested in is the fact that they are weaving in more like instances of the different formats. So we get 2 weeks of Conquest, then 2 weeks of Specialist, then 2 weeks of Last Hero, and then week 7 is another Conquest week. So we really get to see, like, they did it for 2020 as well, where they mixed in the different formats, but it was 1 week to kind of figure out which pool you were going to be in the season. These 7 weeks is the Grandmaster season. So after the conclusion of week 7, then players are all going to be ranked based on their total points earned to see if they go into the playoffs, survive to next season, or relegated. Like there is no more like relegation matches and stuff like that. Like it's just like, did you get enough points or did you not get enough points? Done. Which is really cool.
That is cool. That's also mildly terrifying if I was a player.
I mean, you've got 7 weeks to earn your points in 3 different formats. So it kind of gives you a clearer goal almost, I guess. And I don't think, unless I didn't read into it or I missed it in the article or something, but I don't actually know how the 16 players are going to be divided into those 4 groups every week. If it's going to be like a first, second, third, fourth, and then, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th sort of thing going back and forth through the groups to seed them. Like, I don't know if they're going to be actually seeded or if they're going to be random. Like, I don't really know, but I think because you're going to go through group play and because you're going to go through all the different formats, I think I really think we're going to see the players be a lot closer in these seasons than we have in the past. And it also doesn't really leave things up to chance quite as much because, like, you saw some people just have a bad weekend and get relegated out of Grandmasters. Like, now to get relegated out of Grandmasters, because they're not splitting into the A and B pools, which, like, you had people, like, I think Hunter Ace went through this, where he was in Pool A, it was really, really difficult. And then he had a bad weekend and went from having, like, he had to lose 3 times in one weekend, 3 days in a row to get relegated out. And so, yeah, I think this kind of is maybe a little bit of bad luck protection because they're not splitting. It's like you're not safe for the whole season and then suddenly relegated, I guess. There's less of those surprise moments. It's like you can watch through the progression of week after week and see, like, okay, yeah, this player isn't doing very well. They're probably going to get relegated. And then at the end, they'll get relegated.
So then I also don't quite understand how, like, your slots for the World Championship work, right? Because you can get an invite to the World Championship if you, like, through season 1, but what happens if you get relegated in season 2, but you secured an invite in season 1?
There is no longer such a thing as securing an invite. So you can get an invite based on your play in season 1, but if you get relegated from Grandmasters in season 2, so basically if you're silver name, then you no longer have a spot in the World Championships. You pass on your spot to whoever finished second in season 1 or third or fourth, whatever, depending on who gets relegated in season 2. So essentially, in order to actually qualify for a World Championship, you need to earn it in season 1 or season 2 and also remain in Grandmasters. So that's this, like, huge asterisk on this next upcoming season of Grandmasters, is that you need to essentially be in Grandmasters for the entirety of the year, unless I guess you could technically, or I guess you still need to be in Grandmasters at the point of the World Championship is a better way to phrase that, because technically you could be promoted into season 2, win season 2, and go to the World Championships. Even though you weren't in season 1.
I'm trying to figure out where the rub is here for me, because this just strikes me as absurd. And I'm trying to figure out, is it just the wording? Like, should they just remove this clause entirely for season 1? Like, hey, if you win season 1, cool, you get to stay in season 2, because that's really all that's happening. There is no invite, essentially, because if you don't win in season 2, your performance in season 1 is entirely irrelevant, which I don't necessarily mind. But as a like, thinking of it as like a spectator, like, what do I care? Like, someone could win season 1 and it doesn't matter. They're not in the World Championship. Like, where's my storyline? Like, where's my through line?
Yeah, it's really, really touchy, right? Because I can see both sides. Like, on the one hand, a player dominated in season 1, they won, they were the best of the best for that first half of the year. But then they, weren't able to execute, or whatever happened. They, I don't want to make assumptions about reasons why someone might win in season 1 and get relegated in season 2. But this basically means you have to continue your same performance level, at least somewhat. You have to be in the top 12, right? So that you're not in those bottom, because we're also relegating 4 players this time around. So 4 people are getting relegated. And I don't know, I can understand Blizzard wanting their World Championship participants to also be in Grandmasters, which is supposed to be, according to them, the pinnacle of Hearthstone esports, right? So they want people to still be good enough, air quotes, to exist in the Grandmaster system. And I think what they're saying is, if you're not good enough to be in Grandmasters, you have no place in the World Championship. I can see that side. I don't know if I agree with that side because we've had a lot of precedent set for, you know, if you get your ticket, you're in. Like, you then don't need to worry about the rest of the year. That's how Hearthstone esports has always been. Once you get your shot at the World Championship, you don't need to worry about your performance going forward. So it's a hard pill to swallow, absolutely. But I can see where the esports team is coming from. I don't know if I agree with them, but I can definitely see both sides. It's a tough pill to swallow for sure.
Yeah, it's just strange is all. And you know, Grandmasters kind of started off in a strange way with like, as we talked about years ago when this debuted, was like, why are there invites? Like, why isn't this just based on you being a baller at Hearthstone? And ever since then, it's just cast like this strange blanket over it. It's like, well, is this for entertainment or is this for competition? It's a little bit of both. And so now I look at this and I just go, well, this seems to be removing a little bit more of the entertainment factor, which I don't inherently dislike, but it is strange. And again, I think it muddles the storyline, which is an important aspect for viewers of esports. On top of the fact that it's just like, there's just, oh God, Hearthstone esports is just so strange, Jocelyn. Like ever basically since the start of Grandmasters, and it only got weirder when it went to YouTube, which was just so clearly a horrible decision for the esports.
From Hearthstone's perspective, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it just, oh God, it's really difficult for me to take Hearthstone esports like seriously at this point because it doesn't seem like Blizzard is taking Hearthstone esports seriously, even though now that yes, it's under ESL, but this is just little odd. I guess like there's a part of me that likes this because it's cool. It's like becoming more and more. It's a little more cutthroat. It's a little more. To me, the needle has gone a little bit more into the competitive column, which I personally tend to like.
I think through the promotion, relegation, Masters Tour system over the last couple of years, we have absolutely moved the needle over from this is like a marketing thing. We want influencers and we want personalities and stuff to have an equal stake in this Grandmaster system. Because of promotion relegation, we've kind of whittled our way more into this is the pinnacle of Hearthstone esports, which was their original stated goal when they made Grandmasters. So I think they've moved the needle more over to the competitive side of things, and this is maybe another step in that direction. But because it's still like called the Grandmaster system, because it's still under that umbrella, it makes it kind of hard to split it up from that original messaging and figure out how things are actually going to work now because of the kind of origins of the system. But I think now we are in a more competitive situation when it comes to Grandmasters, and maybe they're trying to push it that extra step further and give players an incentive to give a shit all the way through the year. Like really and truly, that's kind of what it means, is that you have to continue to play well the whole way. You can't just be like, I got my invite to the World Championship, so I'm just going to sit back. Because like some people in the Grandmaster system weren't even attending like Masters tours and stuff and weren't worried necessarily about getting relegated. And, you know, there were a lot of issues about just incentivizing players to do well. And I think that this is just another incentive. Maybe like money would be nicer, but you know, like removing your shot at money, I guess is also an incentive, right?
Yeah, it's fair. Like my favorite esport is StarCraft 2. I like my esports cutthroat, zero sum, best player wins. Like that's how I like my esports. Yeah. But like at the same time, as much as we kind of raised an eyebrow at like invites at the beginning of Grandmasters, Hearthstone is very much a personality driven game. In its online scene. So I can understand where they were coming from. And so this still strikes me as odd, even if it builds a competition that I'm a little more interested in watching personally, but it's still strange. And I can't help but raise an eyebrow to it. So I think if nothing else, Joss, I think at the end of this, you have sold me on, I think my issue is just with the wording here, and they should just not call it an invite, because it isn't. Or if it is, that is like the rudest invite you ever got to an elementary school birthday party. It's just like, you're invited, but if you don't perform well in dodgeball, I'm going to rescind my invitation. I'm sorry.
If I don't like your present, you're going home.
Which is literally an episode of South Park for Cartman's birthday. Like
there you go.
That's it. Yeah. Grandmasters is Cartman with birthday invites. Is that where we've arrived? Okay.
Well, yeah, Grandmasters is Cartman.
I
Love
just
it.
want to make sure we're seeing eye to eye on anecdotes here. So
Yeah. So I mean, it is very much a conditional invite. And I mean, you could still care about season 1 because if the person who wins season 1 doesn't actually make it through season 2 and gets relegated, then that means it's going to kind of like pass down the list. So there is still kind of that storyline of like, if say the person that you really like to follow and you want to see in the world championship comes second in their region, then you could like actively root against the champion from season 1 in season 2, right? And you could be like, boo that person, lose, get relegated. I want my player to get through. So you could kind of look at it that way from a story perspective.
I guess I will, Joce. I guess I will. So, and yes, I'm with Slissa in the chat room who is yelling for GM for Battlegrounds. Like,
Yeah, I would really like to. I don't know.
let's call it something
want
else
to
so that
see-
we can have a loophole and not make it forced to go to YouTube. Let's call it anything else but Grandmasters.
Yeah, I do want to see more competitive Battlegrounds stuff sponsored by Blizzard, whether they make it like a league or not. I want to see them do more stuff because I think Battlegrounds is really fun to watch. It's very exciting, especially when you get the player cams, right? Because they react more than in standard. They're just like, because there's so much randomness built into the mode that the reactions just are bigger. You know, like every once in a while in standard, you'll get a big crazy reaction when like the Yogg wheel hits insta-death and pyroblasts everybody forever. Like that'll get a big reaction, but those moments don't happen as much on the competitive standard side versus like the super crazy big battleground swings that can happen based on if a minion attacks to the left or the right. So, you know, I think that there's a lot of fun to be had watching Battlegrounds, and I want to see them do more events. But I also don't want an esports league to be oppressive on the mode, if that makes sense. Like, I want them to be like one-off, big ticket, win lots of money events.
Yeah, I liked the official events that they put on last year. Is honestly probably the most fun I had watching Hearthstone last year. They were just so damn watchable, and it was awesome. Also, especially like with the team environment too. It's very unique, and I know they've tried that with constructed Hearthstone before, but to me, it's not the same. Like
not at all.
The way Battlegrounds lobbies just function in the whole draft environment, it's just so darn unique.
It's better than trying to watch 4 people pilot the same deck at the same time. Like,
yeah, that just hurts my brain.
Yeah, why? Versus like everybody on the team doing their own thing and trying to help their teammates based on like who gets what pairings and matchups and builds and whatever. Like yeah, and also like it's just I definitely perform better in Battleground that night because I learn a thing or two while I'm watching. Like so, like how many of us learned how to play Rakinishu watching Slissa? Like, and I'm not just pandering to the Twitch audience at the moment, but like I was avoiding that little fire dude like hell. So it's just absolutely.
Yeah, they're fun events and like there's like clearly like going back to that infographic that they shared within the last week. Like there are clearly enough players in Hearthstone. I think there's enough interest to like throw more events out there, like and not just Battlegrounds. Like people are talking about Wild in chat room, and yeah, it might be like, haha, that's such a niche audience, but there is a passionate audience for it. It doesn't have to be huge. Clearly, look at the YouTube numbers for the current Hearthstone esports. So let's experiment. Let's have a little fun.
I mean, if you're going to do Grandmasters for current standard Hearthstone, you can basically justify it for any mode because y'all got 2 viewers.
Yeah, well, and I'm not trying to throw shade. It's just like it is the viewership is low. So like, why not experiment?
Way lower than it was.
Experiment and try and tap into these passionate, if it, even if it is a smaller audience, which Battlegrounds is not, by the way. I'm talking Wild here.
Yeah.
Battlegrounds audience is massive, as we've mentioned time and time again. You go on Twitch, you give it a quick view, and it's like, wow, yeah, Battlegrounds is pulling in a lot of eyeballs. Without getting back into the conversation about taking Hearthstone esports off Twitch is probably also hurting constructed interest on Twitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's an ecosystem for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then the final piece of Grandmasters for 2021 is that they are going to fill those 4 open slots in every region from the 2021 Masters Tours. But the kind of interesting piece to this is that they've now actually created a leaderboard. So after how many years, we can finally tell who is next in line, and not through a third-party website, which the third-party website was amazing, but now they have an official Road to Grandmasters page that will show you who is next in line to be promoted into the Grandmaster system. So
yeah,
that's now available. There's a link in our show notes.
Which with this more volatile system, I think they really needed to. So
yeah,
sorry,
like with 4 slots in every region, like and I think like we covered a few weeks ago, if not a couple months ago now. I don't remember. Time is weird in 2020/2021. Anyways, we covered a little bit ago that they're changing how points and stuff are assigned in the Masters Tour as well. So I think it's going to be, again, I want to reward the best consistent players, not just people who manage to high roll 1 Masters Tour and then, ride into Grandmasters from there. So I think that the new point system is going to reward consistency, which I think is a really good thing. So I am looking forward to it, even if I have to watch it on YouTube.
yeah, as am I. So anyways, that kind of wraps up the news. We're 2 days away from BlizzCon. It's about to explode
it's
again.
A quiet-ish week.
I'm not looking forward to how many cards will probably be revealed in short order. But
not to mention the new mode, dude. Like, I don't know how we're gonna do any less than like a 4-hour show next week.
I don't know. Which, like, I'm very ready for a Battlegrounds change. But if they also slip in some kind of major Battlegrounds update, I'm just like, what? What are we doing?
You know that the Dark Moon ticket thing is going to go away, right?
Yeah, and
we always knew that. Yeah,
I would assume they would time that with some sort of patch.
Something's got to come in, right?
Yeah.
Something's got to replace that. So.
I'm gonna miss those.
Just play Ticketus.
I'd like winning. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I wonder how that'll affect. How would it's probably the same, right? Because he's getting half the number of prizes as he currently is. Whatever the case is.
But no one else is getting prizes, which is kind of key, right?
Yeah.
He's probably still bad, but
yeah, I don't know. I was so impressed by them. I was so unsure. But like, I really think they nailed the pools. Like, there was an average power that you could kind of hit, even if obviously certain prizes are better than others, but I think there were enough decent prizes that, like, it's rare that I like feel really, really bad when the prize is offered. So I've been so impressed with it. I am going to miss it when it leaves. But I don't want to call for it to stay permanently unless they were going to kind of like adjust it and add new prizes and take prizes away. If it is something that is going to be permanent to the game, I think it needs to regularly get shaken up the same way that minions and heroes do as well.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, as I was exiting news, that is it for Hearthstone news. No, it was on me. As you got me talking about Battlegrounds. But before we wrap this podcast up, let's take some emails and we'll see, maybe even have some time for questions from the chat. So let's get into this week's email segment.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello?
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
You can send your emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com. If you're supporting us on Patreon, you can drop us a message right there in the patron Discord, which is what Muckfoot Millardo did. Or is it Millardo? There's 2 L's next to each other. That's right. I took 2 semesters of Spanish. Anyways.
That is not a language I know. Ask me French things.
Muckfoot writes in and says, this show finally wore me down and I started playing WoW last month. That was not our intention. But whatever the case is, and shouts out our WoW podcast as usually while listening to the back catalog of WoW Killer and Faz. Since I have to level through Battle for Azeroth, I'm just now seeing how much of Rastikon's Rumble was inspired by that expansion's Horde campaign. Since you've been plugged into WoW since the beginning, I'm sure that was super obvious at the time. Can you think of other moments in Hearthstone's history when they've clearly been trying to mirror what's happening in World of Warcraft? And do you think we'll see a Shadowlands-inspired card set by the end of the year? First off, I don't think we've ever seen it closely mirror what's going on in World of Warcraft in the way that Rastakhan's did.
Yeah, that was kind of a one-off thing. There's definitely been moments of, I would say, like inspiration from WoW to Hearthstone, or I would say even more so vice versa, where like we saw the characters from League of Explorers, including Sir Finley. Like Sir Finley became a quest giver in Legion over on the Warcraft side. And then we also saw the whole Ungoro crater thing. There was an event that I guess that was kind of a co-event as well. When they started the mini holidays in WoW, then they had an Ungoro crater one at the same time that the Ungoro expansion was coming out in Hearthstone. But again, that was like a mini event, which in World of Warcraft, there are things that happen over like a 24-hour period once a year. Like it wasn't something on the level of Rastakhan's Rumble versus the Zandalari Horde campaign. So that's the only time I can remember where it's been like at the same time going through the same sort of content was Rastakhan's Rumble with BFA.
Yeah, in terms of
See,
like
I'm trying to wipe BFA from my mind, so I literally couldn't even think of the
Oh, come on. The leveling experiences on both factions were phenomenal. I really like the stories that they told. But yeah, in terms of like a Hearthstone expansion being in step with the current World of Warcraft expansion, that's it. That is the only time they've really pulled that off. And looking at the teaser for the next one, there ain't jack going on with Quillbore in World of Warcraft at the moment. So
no.
It's not looking like the next Hearthstone expansion is going to be in step with WoW either. But I sure as hell hope we get a Shadowlands expansion in Hearthstone, because the aesthetic of like the realms of death, like where your soul goes when you die in Warcraft, that's just so rad. And I would love to see Hearthstone's take on it. However, am glad that
maybe it'll be a Horde expansion, then an Alliance expansion, then a Shadowlands expansion to round off the year this year.
we will need to get Ben Brode back then, however, to say everybody dies like he did during the what that would have been Knights of the Frozen Throne. That was the trailer for that where he talked about that. But yeah, I really do hope we get a Shadowlands like aesthetic. Like I really like the way Hearthstone does like their creepy, spooky stuff. Like it's got a Disney edge to it, like that I really respond to. It's very whimsical, a lot of purples and smoky bits. But yeah, that's kind of it. I still wish that they would redo Gadget Zan in World of Warcraft to match the Gadget Zan from Hearthstone, because it is so much cooler.
We've been saying that since Mean Streets came out.
Yeah. Yeah, Mean Streets of Gadget Zan was just such a it was really meaty world building for Hearthstone, which like they're good at, but there was like I wanted to do like a pen and paper role playing game in that version of Gadget Zan. Are you talking to chat, Joce?
A little bit. Well, okay. They're currently fighting about BFA versus WOD and saying BFA was okay, and I can't let
whoa, let's bring it into the podcast, because BFA is better than WOD. WOD is the worst thing that ever happened to World of Warcraft.
See, everybody says that, and I don't really agree. So I think the leveling experience in WOD was better than BFA, and everybody says that the problem with WOD was that
we can't be friends
the
anymore.
problem with WOD is that 6.2 lasted too long, but the final patch of BFA lasted longer than 6.2 did. And yeah, the story in BFA was not great, and the
0.1
the
patch,
mechanics were so bad they had to redo it partway through the expansion. So
let's see, they straight up missed a patch on WOD, and 0.1 patch was a selfie camera. I win. I rest my case.
But there was a lot that they did in WOD that was behind the scenes stuff that the players didn't see, because the stuff that came in WOD was the total revamp of the back end of WoW. So yeah,
for people that miss me on
WOD gets a lot of heat for being the worst ever, but I don't know. I think that there's an argument to be had there for BFA versus WOD, because I really didn't like BFA for a lot of different reasons, and I think there were a lot more problems in BFA than WOD. WOD might have been content light, but BFA was content heavy, but the content was bad. And I think that's worse. I'd rather light good content than heavy bad content.
I unsubbed during WOD.
That's a personal preference. That's a personal preference.
I unsubbed during WOD, and the only other time I unsubbed is when I was like moving back to Florida, like, and trying to find work. The only other time I unsubbed from World of Warcraft is because I actually had money problems. I unsubbed from WOD because I hated it so much.
Which is fair,
so, yeah.
you know, whereas I really liked WOD because I really liked Ashran. So I spent a lot of time PvPing in WOD.
Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. Wow. Yeah. We just could not disagree. Ashran was garbage. Oh my God.
Yeah, I really liked it. I spent like tons of I'm one race short of my Warlord of Draenor.
Oh, I'm about to like walk off this podcast, Joce. Okay. Hey, if anybody misses me on For Azeroth, I hope you enjoyed this preview of what it would be like if I was still on there.
But again, like it's all personal preference, right? So I just think that there's like when they like basically admit that their major gear mechanic is super flawed to the point that they have to like redo it in their first two patches. Like, yeah, I mean that just the whole thing was just BFA gear was a mess. Azerite armor was terrible.
Not as bad as the like core of WOD in my opinion, but I want to.
It's all opinion, right?
I want to pull out of this, but I like so vehemently think WOD is like devoid of value that I hate it so much. When I talk about BFA, I'm like, yeah, BFA is my second least favorite thing World of Warcraft ever did, but it's like,
well, and that's my thing, right? We're currently arguing about whether
we're arguing about our like least favorite things in another game that we clearly very much enjoy.
Yeah, never argue with two bottoms, Garrett.
Yeah. Wait, what? To each their own, Joce. To each their own. Ain't no shaming on this one. DJ Tyrant with the best emoticon. Yep, that is what we need in chat right now. Jocelyn, to bring us home and get us the hell out of this conversation we're currently having, who else wrote in?
Chris wrote in and says, well, not a crazy game story. I think I have an interesting game story with a question to follow. One of the benefits of the new reward system is I finally feel incentivized to play Battlegrounds, as I have never felt it was worth my time before. Overall, I'm still not very good. But one game I found myself surviving better than most and ended up knocking out a player, making it into the top 2. I found myself staring down an Alakir who is still at 40 health. In a brief moment, my mind flashed. If I concede now, they get the coveted pretzel mustard achievement, which, let's face it, is hard to get no matter what your MMR is. In the end, I decided against it. They needed to earn the win if they wanted it. My timer is running out. I headed into battle, barely squeaking out one round of victory before getting completely obliterated every round that followed. I at least reminded them that they could bleed. So my question is there ever any universe where someone should concede or sell off their warband to help a fellow player get a difficult achievement? And would you feel more bad or more sadistic glee about ruining someone's up until then perfect run? Or for those who play a lot of BGs, is this just something that doesn't get attention paid to it after so many games?
Oh boy, we're gonna get like philosophical here.
Yes, this is very much about like Battlegrounds ethics. Because I have definitely seen people, when they know they're going to lose and there's a cat in the game, they sell off absolutely everything so that Bigglesworth gets nothing, which just feels really bad.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to get philosophical. And I say I am okay with either decision you go with. What matters is what's in your heart when you make that decision. Like, if you truly believe, no, they need to earn it. Like, they need to earn it. And that's why you go for it and you chip off a damage and they don't get their achievement. Well, I guess it would be more than a damage at that point. I would hope you would at least be a tier 5. But whatever the case is, I can respect that. But if you also, like, maybe you're just having a good day. You know, maybe you're on a tear and you just know you're not going to win. You're just like, I'm going to give them this one. I'm in a giving mood. I see they're at 40 health. I want to gift this person a hard to get achievement. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I will say, I am in the camp of definitely like I concede in situations like this, and I stick it out even in constructed unless I'm having a really, really bad day, but I will stick it out completely even if players start playing a whole bunch of cards from their hand and they have lethal on board or whatever, just in case they're trying to finish a quest that's like play 30 shaman cards or something. I'm like, all right, I can stay here the extra 20 seconds just so you can get your like play this many battle cry cards or whatever. Like, yeah, if you're working on a quest or an achievement or whatever, like, you want to queue into me because I'm going to help you out.
Can I throw a monkey wrench into your brain that might make your world view explode?
Okay.
I would rather you concede because I'd rather get another game in while completing that quest.
Yeah, but sometimes the quests are like really out there. And I hate when I'm on a quest and I'm like, oh man, I got 29 out of 30. I have to play this deck again. Like it would have been nicer if I could have just like played out everything out of my hand or whatever in before I got lethal. So I let people play it out.
I currently have the play 30 corrupted cards weekly quest. Can we send that off to a farm? Can we send that quest to a farm upstate? That would be great.
I think I've got like 12 out of 30 of that quest right now, and it's just kind of sitting there, and I'm like, okay. And there are some decks that make use of corrupted stuff, but man, it's ticking up really.
I'm playing one.
Really
I'm still
fast,
playing Big Priest. It's
slow.
got some corrupted cards in there, and it's just like it's like maybe there's 4. There's definitely 2. You don't get it done quickly at all if you even draw those cards in the first place. So yeah, I don't like the quest, but yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, if you're getting sadistically out of it, yeah, I might judge you a little bit, but hey, the world is your Hearthstone oyster. You do you. You do you.
I just like to generally brighten people's day. And even if they already have that achievement, or even if they're not working on a quest or whatever, even if they're trying to BM me, I'm just sitting here not caring. And I'm trying to help them out. So whether they actually get helped or not doesn't really matter, because it makes me feel better to think I'm doing some good in the world. That's how I look at it.
That's fair. That's fair. I can get down with that. This is interesting. This is a moral dilemma.
It is. It kind of is, you know, because like, do you try your hardest or do you concede defeat and maybe help somebody out when they might? Because the other thing is too, if you're pretty sure you're going to lose, which you probably don't actually know because you may or may not have actually faced the first place person already. Maybe you are really, really powerful with what you've got in comparison, but yeah, like you don't necessarily know what you're heading into. And I totally lost the thread of what I was going to say, but there was definitely a thing there. Oh, I know. You could also not concede, but like sell your whole warband in case they don't have because there's the deal so much damage in one swing achievement too. So there's a couple different things they could potentially be working on. And even if they've already got those achievements, you know, you don't know that. And they are kind of hard to get. So yeah. So
selling my whole warband before dying is what I do if like I know I'm gonna lose, but I had a good time. Like that's me going like, good game, everybody. That's like my version of good game to who's about to get first place.
Oh my god, I happy cow and then I sell everything and I'm like, you did it.
yeah. Fall on your battleground sword. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab one more question in the Discord because it was a fun one. It can be answered shortly, and this is a shorter episode this week since we're in the calm before the BlizzCon storm. Yeah. Burt Macklin FBI on our Discord wrote in. And
I'm actually watching Parks and Rec right now again. So yeah, great game.
Yeah, I love Parks and Rec. I love Parks and Rec. So that show is just so damn wholesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, Burt Macklin wrote in and said, question, how do you decide which version of the podcast intro to play? Sometimes Brode trips up on Battlegrounds and Garrett pushes him forward. Sometimes not. What's the secret? Also, love Hat on the show. We also love when Ridiculous Hat joins us here. There is no secret. I have both of them on my soundboard, and sometimes I choose to play one over the other. In my mind, I try to play the regular one more often because I want to surprise the listeners with a random one where he goes, "Who? What? What's Battlegrounds?" Because when I asked him to do the VO for it, I was like, "Could you do an alternate take where you're like, wait, what's Battlegrounds?" Because you weren't on the Hearthstone development team when Battlegrounds released, and I thought it would be funny. And then he sent me his take, and it was hilarious, so I ended up using it. So yeah, dude, he sent me like 12 takes of his read on it. And yeah, Broad was.
I miss Broad. I know we're not supposed to, because like the Hearthstone team is great and we love them, but I miss Broad and Young and Hadija and just everybody.
So
Peter, where's Peter? Is he still a chicken?
So I have a podcast about Heroes of the Storm because I still deeply love that game as well. It's another game I love playing, and we're going through a thing over there that's very similar to like the Team 5 like OGs leaving. Yeah, AZ Jackson, who's like was the lead balance designer over on the Heroes of the Storm team and has been for years, and basically since they no longer had a community manager, has been like the voice of the team. And we've had him on Into the Nexus is the name of the podcast a ton of times. Anyway, he has moved on to a secret Blizzard project. And it finally like hit me that the reason I'm sad, because like anytime like on Team 5 with the Hearthstone team, for folks that don't know what Team 5 is, anytime they lose a developer that we have on a lot that we do interviews with or whatever, like the reason I'm sad, like we get on the show is like, it sounds like we're talking about like they died, and it's ridiculous. There's nothing stopping us from tweeting at them and like keeping in touch with them through other channels. But when AZ Jackson left the Heroes team, it hit me, and I think I tweeted this out, is that I'm sad I don't have an official reason to bullshit with that person anymore. Like, and that's the thing. Because we've seen Broad since he left Team 5. Like we try and go get Korean barbecue with the dude. Like it kind of became a tradition before BlizzCon. Like the day before BlizzCon, we'd go up Korean barbecue with him and Youngwoo. But obviously that didn't happen this year because BlizzCon didn't happen this year. So yeah, it's like we became friendly with each other. Like I love those dudes, and yeah, it's sad. But at the same time, it's like now we get to like hang out with Chad, Celestalon, and oh, now Hadidja's
oh yeah, that's
gone.
why. Like I feel like I'm not so. Yeah, Hadidja's gone now too.
Damn it, Hadidja!
Like
Happy birthday, by the way. Still waiting for you to mail me cake.
I'm not supposed to like feel bad because you know the it's not that the new team is bad in any way, shape, or form. They're awesome and we love hanging out and we love talking to them. But yeah. Well, sometimes, man, it just hits me.
What is it? Is it Cameo? Is that what it is? The whole story behind this is Ben Broad like set up a Cameo account, where he, like, and
to do like voice work or whatever. Like
yeah, you can pay people to record things for you, like a happy birthday message or whatever. And I was just like, that's hilarious. Like I love that Ben Broad set up a freaking Cameo account. So I went and booked him, and he refunded it and DM'd me on Twitter like, dude, you don't need to pay me for this. What do you need me to say? And I was like, thanks, Broad. You're the best. But
yeah, you too can get Broad to say whatever you want.
Not sponsored by Ben Broad's Cameo account, by the way. It's just a fun story. Did Tasteless set one up? DJ Tyrant saying Tasteless, famous StarCraft caster, set one up. That's awesome. That was one of the final interviews I did when I had a StarCraft podcast, was Tasteless. That was fun. Cool dude, that Tasteless. But yeah, that's the story, Bert. Just whatever button I happen to press is the intro that you end up hearing. Because yeah,
sometimes when it's going to be a Battlegrounds heavy episode, we use the Broad tripping intro because it kind of calls attention to Battlegrounds. So if we know it's going to be heavy on Battlegrounds, that's the way we'll go.
yeah, exactly. So, So that's gonna bring us to a close for this episode as we get into BlizzCon. Hey, Joce, we're doing a thing Friday. I forgot. Shit, we should have said this at the top of the show because nobody listens to the end of podcasts. I literally give my social security number every single episode, and no one has stolen my identity yet. But on Friday, BlizzCon Line will be obviously streaming live, and apparently we're allowed to restream it, which is super rad. So you, Scott Johnson, Kyle Ferguson, and me are all going to get on a call together, and we're going to hang out for the opening ceremonies, which is 5 p.m. Eastern time. And I don't think we decided where we're doing it. If I know Scott, and I do, it's probably going to be on twitch.tv/frogpants. And also at that point,
I would imagine
it's gonna be 5 o'clock on Friday. I'm gonna have a drink in my hand. I don't feel like figuring out how to turn a stream on. So I'm all for that. But yeah, tune in. I'm gonna assume, if nothing, follow us on Twitter, Garrett Art, Joce Plays. We're gonna tweet about it, but probably go over to twitch.tv/frogpants and we're going to be hanging out, talking about the opening ceremonies. If you liked Jocelyn and I fighting about World of Warcraft, I can almost guarantee there'll probably be a little bit of that. And
I don't know, man. Shadowlands been pretty good. Unless you think Shadowlands is bad, I don't think we're gonna fight.
I'm really enjoying it. I'm bored with it at the moment, but that's because of just how long we've been on this patch and has nothing to do with the quality of the expansion, in my opinion. I think this is
I'm still really liking it because we don't have our ahead of the curve yet, so we're still doing progression in raids because the gear has been so slow that it's actually been really challenging, which I have enjoyed. Not everybody has, and obviously
is it because you're not geared? Is it challenging because you're not geared? Or is it challenging because you suck? I don't have a head of the curve, so and I'm not gonna get it. So I feel like you can rest easy knowing that was just trying to elicit a reaction.
I think it's just because in expansions past, it was a lot easier to overgear stuff more quickly, where we haven't had that gear advantage in this expansion. So it's taking a little bit longer, but I like it because, I'm actually getting upgrades from the raid, which in BFA, there were some raids I went into day one with nothing gear wise in the raid that was an upgrade, which is stupid.
I went up to Sledge Fist last night in Heroic and I got nothing. I was just like, come on, new loot system. Sorry, I did get something. Bracers I already had. That's what I got.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Anyways, tune in for that. That's going to do it for this show. Huge thanks to our patrons. If you like what we're doing here on The Angry Chicken, you want to support us, the best way to do so is patreon.com/TAC. That is how we are supported, and it is a portion of how we actually pay our bills. So thank you very much for the support, everybody. Go get yourself access to our Discord. Go get that Patreon feed. And also a huge thanks to our producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. If you want to become a producer, the info is all over at the Patreon. So go check that out. We typically record live Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/amovetv. So if you want to join us live, join the live chat, do that. And other than that, Joce, where can people find you talking about other games, maybe other games that we actually ended up talking about on this very podcast?
I was going to say we actually talked more about WoW on the show today, I think, than Hearthstone. So it was definitely more WoW talk on this show than we've had in a very long time.
The teaser is a literal dungeon from World of Warcraft.
The teaser is WoW related. Absolutely, 100%. So I think it was justified. But if you want to hear me talk about World of Warcraft a whole lot more, go and check out For Azeroth. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joce Plays. That's JOCE Plays.
I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. You can follow me on there. I have already mentioned amove.tv, but I will mention it again because I run that website, and every podcast I produce, including this one, can be found over there. Or you can shortcut and find the whole back catalog of Angry Chicken episodes by going to theangrychicken.com. If you're listening on podcast, please subscribe to the podcast and download the episode every week. It helps us greatly. And we would very much appreciate it, even if you're going to listen to it later. Just hit download, save it for a rainy day. It's fine. Or a freezing day. I hope listeners in Texas, I hope you're doing all right. It seems like you're going through what we go through in Florida with hurricanes, except it's cold instead of flooded. And that just seems terrifying to me. So, I hope you're doing well. And hopefully we got to burn an hour of your day. Best of luck, everybody. We're going to see you real soon for BlizzCon coverage. But until then, job's done.
Job's done.